Welcome back to Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. It must be late July because we can see Twitter heating up when it comes to redraft fantasy football. Our listeners are up.
Scorching fire.
Welcome if you are a first-time listener. I know this is the time of year a lot of people are checking out some new podcasts right as they're starting to get ready for draft season. So if you're new, welcome to the show. If you're an old-time listener, listen to us year-round. And yes, we are a year-round show. Thank you for sticking with us through all this time. We're Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. I'm Nick Sparts. Dan Thury across the table from me.
At Thury BFF, what's up?
To my left, a little confused right now, is Christopher Hopper.
At Hot BFF with 2 Ps. And now I was just thinking that we forgot a third demographic. If you're a listener that tuned in last year and then took a break or whatever and showed back up.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
This would be the time of year you'd get some of those return people.
Yep. Welcome back to the show.
It is the busy season for fantasy football. We are going through our rankings, so if this is the first episode you're checking out, you definitely want to go back and start with QB Part 1. The last 4 episodes here, we've been going through all of our rankings here for you guys. But let's go ahead and get in through a couple shout-outs here. Hopper, you do have the Listener League for everyone who's tuning in.
Yep, we do have the Redraft Listener League. Qualifications for that are going to be open for a couple more weeks. It's a Superflex League, 12 teams, so you can do one of 4 things to be entered into the drawing. You can make a donation in any amount to Fantasy Cares. Send me a screenshot of that at HotBFF on Twitter, 2 Ps. You can take a screenshot of yourself leaving an iTunes review. You can send a screenshot of that to HotBFF on Twitter with 2 Ps. And you can also send a screenshot of yourself, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can send a screenshot of that on Twitter to, guess where, at HotBFF
with 2 Ps.
The other thing that you can do is you can buy merch from us. That will get you 3 entries. You can buy the hats, which I myself and Dan Thury are modeling, or a shirt, which none of us are modeling today. You can DM the show for that at BeerfieldFF. Let Mr. Sparts know that you would like your entries into the Superflex Redraft Listener League, and he will get that over to me.
Yep, I'll take care of facilitating that. If you do want a hat, I have to figure out how to ship hats. I've never done that before, but the shirts are fine. I've been sending a few out this week already.
My recommendation for that was the U.S. Postal Service, but apparently I was looking for a little bit more information than that.
Yes, I figured that much out. It was the next step of what type of box do I ship it in that I'll have to figure out here. So some Google searching will be on me.
Cardboard.
Damn, I was going to do lead.
I don't think that would be bad for shipping costs.
All right, so the show, as mentioned, is at BeerfieldFF. You can reach us there if you have any questions for us, any other information you're looking for about the show. Individual handles we already gave out to you guys. You can also find us on Instagram at BeerfieldFF and Untapped, where we try to review every single beer we drink here on the show. At Go NFFC last week, we did miss a couple, so sorry about that.
We slacked off. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we were really slack. We were just trying to get shows recorded last week, let alone remember all the other stuff.
I was trying not to be dehydrated and hungover.
You did not succeed.
I lost that. Yeah.
And then
minus one.
And as always, YouTube and Facebook are Beerfield Fantasy Football as well. Check us out there for some additional content. One last thing I wanted to shout out was something I ran into on a site, Facebook group called Year Round Fantasy Football Discussion. It's actually run by the Going for Two guys, so shout out Jeff there. And they announced a beer league, which is a 16-team dynasty league. It's actually going to start drafting on last Friday, so 7/20. But everything is beer-themed for this league. So, hey, this is perfect. Shout out to you guys for doing a league that we fully support and what you guys are doing.
We endorse all your decisions.
We endorse beer.
Yeah, anytime you combine beer and fantasy football, we will give you a shout-out. So shout out to you guys. Hope that league goes well. And I told them to keep me posted on it. If you want to try to follow along with how it's going, send me a DM. I can get you the info for what's going on over there.
I'm sorry, Jimmy. I mean, the
rock
review.
Shall we hit a beer preview before we jump into wide receiver rankings?
Beer Fuel.
All right, and this is brought back from Cincinnati, Ohio, by my girlfriend, Austin. It is...
What?
I'm nicknaming her Austin.
Okay.
I didn't think about that when you said you were going to drop
I was
that
like,
nickname, but that's
Austin?
totally a dude's name.
I'm going with the Blake Shelton reference.
You should probably lean with that. You probably lead with that first.
Yeah.
Because you say Austin, and she's like, who the fuck is Austin?
She doesn't listen, so she won't know who the fuck that is.
And that's her second mistake.
There you go. That is her second mistake.
But it is Christian, I think we pronounce Moerlein.
Moerlein?
If anyone knows how to pronounce this brewery, let us know because I'm sure we're butchering it. It's FC Cincinnati Blood Orange IPA coming in at 6%.
Doesn't the E and I make the line sound? Wouldn't it be Moerlein?
Could be Moerlein.
It could be Moerlein.
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 Just goddamn fucking
Moerlein?
Sweet Moerlein.
Moerlein. I mean, the O and the E can.
Okay, we're gonna go with Christian Moerlein.
Okay,
We're going off the rails.
and he's my wide receiver 5, by the way.
Perfect. Sounds like a slot guy.
he
kind of does, doesn't he?
Big PPR
He
upside.
claps on that 5'9",
Big PPR upside on Christian Moerlein.
$188.
Buck 88.
Runs a 4.4 or runs a 4.56.
Hey, he's one of the-
6.83 three cone.
He's one of those size guys, right? You got to go way back to get that reference.
All right.
And so please don't.
Don't do that.
All right, let's briefly get this back on the rails. They are based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. 6% is the blood orange style. We'll give you a full review once we're halfway through this episode of Wide Receivers Part 1 of Red Receiver Rankings. But before that, we do have some news for you guys.
We do?
Yes.
A lot of them.
Sorry, I was like playing with levels and I'm just trying to buy time right now before I hit the news drop.
All right.
Water level.
News. I love how your stall tactic is always, I'm searching for a stall tactic right now. I'm just going to verbalize that out loud.
My stall tactic is telling I'm real with our listeners.
And we're
My
stalling.
stall tactic is telling them that I'm looking for a stall tactic.
All right, on the news, this is going to mostly be people reporting to training camp and getting them cleared for injuries. So starting it off, Andrew Luck was cleared for the starting training camp. He'll apparently be a full go for the start of the preseason.
Yay.
When I heard he was throwing a football, I expected this to happen. So let's see him in some game action. Captain Andrew Luck is back.
I hope he plays some preseason games. Take one big hit. That's all I want to see, and then see him get back up, and then we're good to go.
And throw a couple good footballs, too.
That too.
Yeah, I want to.
I
want to watch him throw.
I want to see him out there throwing 20, 25 times.
Total in preseason.
No, like preseason game 3. I want him out there throwing like
3.
20 times.
I want him out there 1 through 3. I just, like I said, one hit. I just want to see him get back up.
Well, given the Colts offensive line, I'm sure
There's
that's
a good
doable.
chance that'll happen.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be up
It shouldn't be up the middle, but those tackles are very suspect.
Yep.
Not very much.
Le'Veon Bell did not get a contract done before the deadline. He is not expected to report to training camp and is expected to pull the same stunt he did last year and come back right before week 1.
Le'Veon Bell owners know how last year worked out. I wouldn't be too worried.
No. I mean, a little concerned just with the yards per carry.
Le'Veon Bell dynasty owners.
Yeah. But we've been saying you should probably be selling them if you're not on a championship run. Anyways.
Yeah.
Shout out us back
Shout
about
out
3 months
us.
ago.
Shameless self-promotion.
So yeah, he's definitely got some question marks here. We don't know where he's going to be next year. It's looking almost guaranteed he will not be back with the Steelers.
The Jets.
That's what we projected anyway. The Jets?
I don't know if he's quite old enough to go to the Jets yet.
Yeah, he needs one more contract.
He needs another contract.
Go
before
Crowell
he
was
gets
up
He'd be like
there.
29.
Crowell's too young to go to the Jets too.
That's true.
Outliers.
Outlayers?
Outliers.
Outliers?
You throw statistically, you just throw those out.
I thought you meant like outlayers, like a coat.
He'll need
He is
one.
an outer layer. You will need one. Well, he's come on from Pittsburgh.
He'll need one in New York.
Yes.
Marlon Mack has been cleared for the start of training camp from his shoulder issue.
He'll have a chance to win a share of or that job. So keep an eye on Colts backfield. Is something we're going to be keeping an eye on in preseason anyway, pretty heavily.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of my number one things to watch this year.
We will
This
probably get by about
season.
August 15th. You guys will probably be sick of us talking about the Colts backfield.
Yeah,
Kenneth Dixon was cleared for the start of training camp.
Still got to beat out Buck Allen right now.
he's another intriguing thing I'm going to be watching in training camp. Is
Yes.
I think Alex Collins is locked in. Is the 1 and 2 down like actual running back that runs. I think I think Buck Allen
As opposed to walking.
yeah. Well, there's some that do that.
There is. Oh my
Looking at
God.
you, Frank Gore.
Yeah, looking at you, Frank Gore.
And Blunt.
and Blunt. Anyway, he'll have to beat out Buck Allen, so watch for that number 2 back because I expect that number 2 back, whoever it is, to have some value as a receiver.
He's also the most talented. I think he's the most talented as the Ravens fan. I think he is.
I think
he's better than both of them.
I think
for
he
sure.
has the best skill set that he could actually be a true 3-down workhorse, where I don't think that'll ever be Collins. I think Collins will be a great high-volume running back, kind of a la Derrick
He's the
Henry.
less talked about Jordan Howard.
Yeah.
Though there's Jordan Howard videos being circulated of him making some nice catches in training camp.
Does he finally starting to look comfortable with it?
He looked very comfortable in the one I watched.
Very good.
Huh.
It's like
Weird.
Hopper's been saying this.
It's like I've been saying this for months.
Hey, my issue with him was that he didn't look comfortable catching it. If he's starting to look comfortable catching it, that's a very
I
different
don't look
thing.
comfortable walking, but I still know how to do it.
Yeah, but I'm not drafting you. I'm not drafting you in a
I
fantasy
don't look
walking
comfortable
league either.
talking, and I still find ways to manage to do it.
He's got a point.
Not well.
All right, Shane Vereen signs with the Saints. They waive running back Daniel Lasco. Mostly can't body is my read on this.
Do I have the Jurassic Park drop still?
Do you?
Doxson. See, nobody cares.
Maybe this pushes Kamara to be more of the Ingram role the first 4 weeks, so maybe he does see a little uptick, and they want to use Verena more of the Kamara role. Maybe.
I mean, it's possible if Vereen makes it that far. Unfortunately, as we talked about last year, they've changed the way cutdowns work, so we're not going to know until right before the season starts.
This is a weird signing anyways to me because they already have a crowded backfield back
Don't
there.
draft him. Moving on.
Yes. Thank you.
Unless you're in a 24-team deep bench league or something.
Yeah, 32-team, one copy player league. You can probably draft him.
And even then.
Brandon Cooks got signed to a 5-year, $80 million extension. Only $20.5 million guaranteed, though, which seems a little light. And this is on top of his $8 million franchise tag, so it's a 6-year, $88 million deal, effectively.
So how's that guaranteed money spread out?
I've not seen how that spreads out yet. I've tried to look for it, and I couldn't find it yet.
I got to think front-loaded.
I would assume probably first 2 years.
I would think so, too. Kind of a prove-it thing, but then... so we can cut you if you completely bomb, but we can also keep you if we want to.
So just a reminder, though, he's still only 24 years old.
I know.
So this contract only takes him for 30.
I know.
He's been traded twice, so, I mean, there's a reason why, I guess. I'm not really sure. They went out and paid him long-term, so it seems like, hey, you go out and perform for us, we're probably going to hold on to you. But, I mean, it doesn't really change how I'm looking at him this year or necessarily in Dynasty.
I gave him a slight bump just because now I have a little more faith that the Rams actually have a plan for him. But like you said, for this year, it's not that much of a change.
Yeah, a little more bump in Dynasty than redraft because of it. We already expected him to get targets this year.
Yeah. All right, and then kind of an addendum to this, there's no guaranteed money left on Robert Wood's contract after this season. Is that a concern for you at all?
That was a good point out for you there.
That was a very good point out. And yes, it is because they drafted Josh Reynolds last year, I think, who's a big outside body that flashed when he was given the chance. And you got Cooper Kupp, who's going to hold down the slot for probably years to come. So Robert Woods is an intriguing thing to watch. He was, I think that he got hyped up a lot last year when it was kind of on that run. But when you go back and look at the overall sample, it was just okay.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, and I mean, he was all right. He had, 2 games last year that made up for a lot of his totals. I mean, he was safe to begin the season last year, and then that became more of Kupp's role as the season moved along.
Which, I expected that to be Kupp's role all along anyway. So.
Yeah, did you? Because I think it was that one Giants game where the defense totally phoned it in, where he blew up and was like 35 points or whatever.
That in against the Vikings last year too. He had
a solid game.
Plays.
Yep. He didn't score a touchdown though. See, that wasn't that crazy game.
I thought he did.
No, Gurley had the only touchdown.
That's right. You're right.
I remember.
You did.
All right. So moving on to Allen Robinson is going to be cleared for the start of training camp.
This is all I expected this the entire time. He got hurt so early last year.
It was like 5 plays into the season.
Yeah, 5 plays into the season. So I'm not surprised by this.
Yeah, he's no worries for me.
All right. One of Show's crushes from last rookie class, Ardarius Stewart, suspended 2 games for violating the league's PED policy for testing positive for a masking agent.
He'll be cut.
Good L, dropping the suspension hammer again. You may be cut, which is good news for Chad Hansen.
Yeah.
But they brought in Terrell Pryor, who says it was the ankle injury that was hindering him last year. You've got Enunwa coming back with Robbie Anderson. And then Chad Hansen there also is depth. He's expendable. Yeah. Which is unfortunate because I did like him a lot last year. But
I'm at this point with how crowded that
I'm glad
group has gotten. I'd almost prefer to get cut.
I would do.
And then last one is Ricky Seals-Jones, arrested and charged with assault, disorderly conduct, and trespassing for trying to enter a restroom at the W Hotel in Scottsdale, Arizona. Apparently shoved an employee. So pretty minor, but it's worth noting because he could catch a future suspension for this.
That's all I got. I mean,
that's a great take.
That's really minor.
So, and if anything happens, I'm not expecting this year. I'm thinking probably 2019.
Yeah, and I don't know that it will.
It might just be a fine.
I'd be surprised if that doesn't get dropped.
It could.
Yeah.
But it's still, even the fact that it ended up in headlines at all has been enough for Goodell to be like,
it sounded a lot worse than what actually happened.
It was a lot worse, though.
The charge list is way worse than the actual incident.
Let's put it this way. Kareem Hunt hasn't been suspended yet for his little fracas, so I definitely don't expect RSJ to be.
All right. Time to talk some wide receivers?
Sure thing. We got new drops finally. Yes.
Rankings.
We're going back to the 80s.
Prince would be proud.
Thank you.
I love it.
All right. So as we've done the last couple episodes, we run through these in tiers and discuss about the players in each tier. Wide receivers ended up with some really, really interesting tier breaks. So I ended up with way more tiers at the top than I was expecting.
Yeah, they did.
Tier 1 is just one guy, Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown. Yep.
I would include Hopkins there, but
I had a big
Brown's still my 1, so
I had a big enough point gap, and even though I projected him to see similar targets, Brown's just a more efficient receiver. He's more efficient with his targets. He catches more footballs, and he's more efficient with his yardage. So, I mean, similar touchdowns, similar targets, but Brown just does more with it, and that's the big difference to me.
So something I didn't notice until today. He's led the league at wide receiver in points per game for 4 straight years.
Yeah, he might end up being the greatest fantasy receiver we've right now ever.
Like in modern fantasy.
Yeah.
Because he's Jerry Rice back in the day would have, but that was
sure, but that was more
that was back in the pen and
paper days.
That's what I meant modern fantasy, where it's online.
I get you.
There's podcasts, this sort of thing.
There are?
I think so.
Really?
What else are we doing?
I don't know. Who the fuck are you people?
I thought this was a radio show.
Call in at.
Anyways.
We want to know what you think.
No, I don't. I don't care what you think.
Oh, good, because we're hosting together. So any concerns about Antonio Brown at all?
No.
Just lock and loaded, number 1.
I think I put down he saw his lowest yardage, lowest receptions in the last 5 years. But it's fucking...
Yeah, his catch rate was weirdly a little down last year, but it didn't matter.
He's also banged up a bit towards the end of the season. So
yeah, that's what it was to me too. He was banged up at the end of the season. His catch rate was weirdly down by about 8%. I expect that to just regress to the norm positively.
Some will say Juju, but I don't think...
I still projected Juju really well.
Yeah.
Also, so, I mean, even with Juju, you got to look at...
It's going to be a bad defense, I think.
Yeah, they're going to have to throw a decent amount.
At best, it'll be okay.
Bryant's gone, and they really don't have a good option in the slot receiver. I don't believe in James Washington. So.
Well, the slot's going to be Juju. I think Washington's going to be outside.
Well,
which is fine.
My point still stands.
Yeah, exactly.
James Washington's terrible, and he's going to be a bust.
And I agree.
All right. Tier 2, this sort starts to get interesting. And this is strictly my fault. Number 2, Odell Beckham, not DeAndre Hopkins.
I mean, he's my 3, so I mean, I don't hate it, but
yeah, it was just to me the way that I projected this Giants offense to shake out and to be more run centered through Saquon Barkley. The Vikings were very, very equal as far
balanced.
Balanced. That's the word I was looking for. They're very, very balanced. So I don't expect him to be like up in the 170 target range. I still have him projected for 150 plus. So, I mean, he's still going to be a monster in the red zone. He's still going to be a monster in touchdowns. He definitely should still be drafted as a top 3 wide receiver back into the first round. He would have been my 3 if I hadn't forgotten to adjust my rankings.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys will hear me reference this a few times throughout the show. I do my rankings based on stat projections first, and then I fade them based on like role security, injury risk, that type of stuff. And I forgot to do that with the first 8 guys. So
it happens.
Beckham would be my 3.
He's had 1 16-game season. He obviously missed 13 games last year?
12.
And he missed a bunch his rookie season.
Yeah, he missed the first 6 weeks of his rookie season because he was on the pup. But then he had the one game he missed because of his suspension where he's fighting with Norman.
When he's healthy, he's top 3, top 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the only downside I can really see from him is injury concern. That's about it.
And maybe it becomes more of a shift in the running game, as you guys suggested before.
That's why I have him faded a little bit more than over previous years. Is just I think it's more of a shift in
But he's such a good
focus.
He's such a good receiver, and he's great after the catch. Where I think he maybe sees a little less in targets, but he's a big play guy as well.
And it's more of a narrative thing. I don't buy into it that much for fantasy, but it is a contract year for him, so he's trying to get paid.
Yeah,
he'll
play through minor stuff.
As long as he doesn't do anything stupid, like snort cocaine with hookers. But
hey, he's on a boat.
Narrative thing.
All right, number 3 is DeAndre Hopkins. As I said, this one was my fault. So what did you? I projected just that offense to be throwing less because when Watson was under center, they did not throw nearly as much as when other quarterbacks were under center for that team. Is that a concern for you guys at all?
No. He had 8.15 targets a game over the last 3 years. He's had 11 targets a game over the last 3 seasons. He's produced with anybody that's not named Osweiler. I mean, they were up in games, so sure they were passing less, but I think first off, I don't expect that secondary to overperform like it did last year. I like the front 7, but I think the secondary overperformed last year. I think that there's going to be some regression there, and especially with Vrabel being gone, I think that was part of what played into that. So you got to look at that from a game script standpoint. I think they're going to have to throw more. If you believe the narrative, which I've pushing this narrative for a while, that Watson's going to be less efficient. That means there's going to be less scoring, which means there's going to be more throwing. So I don't have concerns with him falling off. I expect him to be right around what he's average. And you hope for that because he's not, like I mentioned when we were talking about AB, he's not nearly as efficient. So
no, he's not.
He's got to have the volume in order to do it because his catch rate only runs about 56%.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a guy that's gotten over the last 3 seasons, I believe, 171 targets on average. He's right around 1,300, maybe a little bit less in yards. I think it's maybe around 1,200. And I think it's 9 touchdowns, which would have put him at, I think, a top 8 finish, top 7 finish for last year.
Plus his touchdown monster. He had 52% of his team's end zone target share on 24 targets.
There's no one on that team. They didn't draft a big guy. They didn't bring in Dez.
KQQT isn't taking end zone targets. So
even his 5'8" self.
Yeah. So I agree with that. I think they're going to try to run a little bit more on Miller with that option of having kind of the movement with Watson. So I do think his attempts targets are going to be slightly down this year. I projected probably a little too low in the around 150 point.
I agree.
Yeah,
but I don't see him getting above. I don't see him having another 175, 192 type target season. I think he's probably going to be more like 160.
I think he
this
could
year.
just because Fuller is always hurt.
I had him at 177 just because and part of that is also the fact that there's no tight end for him to throw to. They're going to have to go other places, and I think that it's going to be a lot of him and QT with the dose of Willer. Will Fuller?
Willer
House. Willard.
So that's why I'm a little bit down on him, is I just don't think the target volume will quite be there. That being said, he's still my 6. So I said that must be the lowest person on Hopkins, and I checked Fantasy Pros, and I'm like, oh no, someone's got him at 12. I feel better.
Yeah, 12? 12?
Yeah.
They must really hate Watson then.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
That's the only thing.
And he's probably
love Fuller.
And after Brown, Hopkins is probably still the safest receiver I'd look at.
He was the safest last year. I mean, as long as Osweiler isn't the backup to Watson, he's fine.
Okay. Tier 3, kicking it off with Keenan Allen coming in at number 4, who I am all in on this year.
He's going to lead the league in targets.
Yeah,
he might.
See, I had to fade him a little bit because basically I just expect it was kind of the narrative that you were pushing for the Texans, to where I faded the targets a little bit. That Chargers defense is going to be really good, and they're going to be playing in a bad division. I just don't think they have to throw it quite as much, so I think that that's going to fade his targets a little bit. That 9.93 targets a game, I think, is kind of steep. I think that he may lose about a target a game. You've got a healthy Mike Williams there also, mixed in with Tyrell Williams. And if they re-sign Antonio Gates, that gives you a lot of mouths to feed, an overall decrease in passing attempts because that defense should be just locked down, especially given that division. But that being, and there's always the injury risk, even though he kind of shook that tag last year. I love Keenan Allen. I built the dynasty team around Keenan Allen, and I think that ultimately he's going to be a great option. And I think that he is a lock to be probably a top 7 wide receiver. So I'm not throwing a ton of shade on him. I just don't have him quite that high.
Yeah, a lot like Brown. He's great after the catch. He's second in the league. Great after
He's
sex.
great after Keenan Allen. Great after
Great
sex.
after
I mean, he might be.
I don't know.
We don't know.
He's second in the league in
you
yards
saying
after
he's
the
a-
catch.
Are you saying he's a good cuddler?
Yes. Sure. That's our moment. He led the league in red zone targets at 24. I expect that to go down with the rise of Mike Williams to be more comfortable in this offense. If they do bring back Gates, that'll obviously go down too. And Tyrell is not a slouch if he gets an opportunity as well with a high catch rate. Or not catch rate, or with a high catch radius. But he's safe. I think he's going to be safe in this offense. I do expect him to be top 5 in targets this year. As I said, he was second in yards after the catch. He played 38% of his snaps out of the slot. He can get it done from both inside and outside, and he's the most trusted receiver in this offense. But there is concern with the volume, with how good the Chargers offense is, and with
Defense, you mean?
yeah, and both. I guess it's a good offense too. So there is a little bit of.
So if they do sign Gates, I'll bump him down ever so slightly just because I was trying to figure out where touchdowns were going to go in this offense with no tight ends. So some of them had to go towards Allen.
Yeah.
But I would bump him down slightly if Gates was
I
back.
tossed most of those to Williams.
No, I tossed a ton to Williams and both Williams actually, and I still had to
Tyrell's got a really huge frame. Like I was a little bit shocked when I dove into that. He's got a massive catch radius.
No, he definitely does. Both those guys should feast this year if they don't bring in Gates, or even if they do, they might.
Yeah, might anyways, yeah.
Number 5, Julio Jones.
He's Julio. He's never been used a ton in the red zone. He's going to give you a couple blow-up games, though. He's going to give you yardage. It's Julio.
Yeah.
When you miss out on your Beckhams, your Browns, your Hopkins, and then Julio Jones is who most people are looking at next.
He's going to have those 2 or 3 games where he's just going to lead that week in wide receiver finishes, and he's going to have a couple 2, 3, 4 games. He might even have a game where he has to be a decoy because he gets banged up a bit. We don't believe in this Falcons offense as much,
But I do believe in
but
Julio.
it's still Julio. I mean, even if it's not for Matt Ryan, Mohamed Sanu threw a pretty nice deep ball to him.
He seems to be good for one of those every single year.
at
least one.
At least one. And if you're a Matt Ryan owner, you get really pissed off about it, like me.
Then don't own Matt Ryan.
I know.
That's been heard
I
twice
made
all
that
year.
mistake. God damn it, I know.
So yeah, Julio, I've got him actually as my 5. You guys have him as 6. When I statted it out, I realized I was probably a little too harsh on him. I know he's very boom busty, but he's an elite boom bust guy, and I'll take the risk on him. I was a little too harsh on
He's
him in my
super
gut
busty.
rankings.
Super busty.
All right, coming in next, and this would be the last of this tier. Sorry, I jumped to the wrong tab. Is Devontae Adams coming in at number 6?
My fault.
Your fault?
Partially, yeah. 250 vacated targets from 2016. Jordy left about 7.6 per game from his stint with Rodgers last year, up for grabs. That was 120 target pace for Jordy Nelson. That's just kind of gone. Devontae Adams saw 9.8 targets a game with Aaron Rodgers last season, and he's gradually been increasing his catch rate and been increasing his efficiency. So, I mean, what I look at with Devontae Adams is he's going to get number 1 wide receiver targets in this offense, and that's been good for
Huge.
150 plus. And then if he continues to just ever so slightly bump that efficiency up like he's been doing with a more accurate quarterback back there in Aaron Rodgers, that's going to take care of your receptions and your yardage. And then he's always been good in the red zone.
Yeah.
And you brought in Jimmy Graham, but you also lost Jordy, who was another red zone target for Aaron Rodgers, who's going to throw a ton of touchdowns. So Devontae Adams is a guy that I firmly believe in as a top 5 guy this year.
Yeah. If there's odds in Vegas on who's going to have the most touchdown receptions this year, I place my money on Devontae Adams. I project him to be like this will be his breakout year. You're going to have a full 16 games, hopefully, with Rodgers. Maybe not hopefully. We'll see.
We have mixed feelings on that at the moment.
Mixed feelings.
We do.
He won't get the 37% red zone share that he had last year with Graham there, but there's so much more upside without Hundley. And then even if Rodgers does go down, he did prove that he can be a pretty reliable option with a terrible Brett Hundley as his QB.
It's probably going to be Kaiser now.
Which is still terrible than Kaiser.
Still not good.
Better than Hundley, probably.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Anything else to add on Adams besides the fact that we're big fans?
No.
All right. Tier 4, AJ Green coming in at number 7.
Oh, it's AJ Green. He's in the Bengals. With
He is AJ
with
Green.
Green and Jones, there's not a whole lot to say because they've been doing it for so long. He's the only real option in the Bengals offense, so he's going to get a ton of targets on a team that, maybe marginally better, but still isn't going to be great on offense. So there you go. He's going to get volume. Volume equals fantasy points. He's always had the speed to kind of stretch the field deep, never been high efficiency, and he's better than Julio Jones in the end zone. So
I expect
he'll
him.
have about 6 to 8 touchdowns.
Like, I just expect his offense to at least be better from. They're going to run more offensive plays. I think
Yes,
this year.
and that'll
They
help a
have to.
lot.
Mhm.
That'll help. He'll always be kind of that, who just like you mentioned, he'll have, some of those fadeaway games, and then he'll give you 2 games where he catches a last-second touchdown to give you wide receiver 1 week against Ravens, like he always fucking does.
Don't take it personally, Dan.
I will.
You will.
I feel like something's deep seated there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just a
he's-
little bit.
I mean, I don't even have him for a ton of volume, but he's
How
shown
many targets did you give him this year?
148.
Give him 157.
But
That's fair.
I mean, he's
For
shown
both.
an ability when that offense is clicking that he scores. I mean, even more than the 6 to 8 touchdown range. He's put up a couple 10+
Well,
seasons.
just like Brown, he can get 6 to 8 receptions in 1 quarter and just save your week
Oh,
on 1 or 2 drives.
sorry, I lied. I totally thought we were selling Devontae Adams for whatever reason, even though I just gave a dissertation about AJ Green. I had AJ Green at 141 targets.
so pretty
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
Pretty similar. And that's fair.
Yeah, I had him at 148, a little over 1,300 yards, and I gave him 11 touchdowns because I couldn't see where else they were going to go on that
Yeah,
offense.
It was 141, right
Nobody-
around 1,208. I like mixing down there.
I do like mixing down there, but I figure there's going to be enough for both those two,
And
and
then
that'll
there's
be about
Crawford
it.
and Eifert. Dalton's always favored the
Eifert.
tight ends in the red zone. If you
Yeah,
can.
Eifert, if he's healthy, is huge in the red zone. So,
And then their third tight end out of Tate.
yes, Auden Tate also.
All right, moving on to number 8, Michael Thomas.
So, with Michael Thomas, I'll let you guys go actually on this one because I feel like I'm going to be a little different than you two.
He's been the what?
Why is that?
He's
You
had
and I
the
are pretty
most-
close.
Yeah.
He's had the most targets, I think, of any receiver the last 2 seasons. He plays in a high-powered offense that I expect, Brees to positively regress to towards his average norms, at least with the Saints. And he's their number 1 without Ingram for 4 weeks. You just can't ignore Thomas. Even if he didn't give you the touchdown production last year, especially early on, he gave you those targets and receptions to kind of make up for it. So he's a bit safe, which is good in PPR leagues.
Yeah. You brought in Cam Meredith with this. You got Traquan that's there. So there's going to be other wide receiver options on the field. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for Michael Thomas. He's more efficient when other wide receiver options are on the field. About 4/10 more yards per reception. About 4/10 more on the touchdowns. Same thing with receptions per game, and his catch rate's better. So he's just in general better when he's not being double covered. I think most people are.
Yes,
Um,
hopefully.
But I'm the reason that I'm kind of opposite is that I don't believe in. I know that I'm different from you in
Yes,
this.
yes.
Is that I think that this stays more defense focused, run game focused, and they don't have to throw a ton. It's not like Breeze in the heyday where he's throwing 680 times because
I
the
know.
defense was terrible and the Saints were going 7-9. Which lack of pass attempts is gonna kind of pull their wide receivers back. I love Michael Thomas, but. Just kind of one of those be wary things. It's why I've got him faded kind of down towards the bottom of my, top
Elite guys.
10. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is just because I don't expect a ton of volume to be there. And then you bring in other options. Ben Watson being back also. When they lost, Kobe Fleener had lost trust. There's going to be other options there too. And I think that they still throw less than what they have historically.
Yeah, I've got Breeze up to 599 attempts, but his historic season average is closer to like 650, so still down from norm. I've got Thomas down at 144 targets this year. I don't think he's going to be nearly as much volume. I do have all of his efficiency metrics up,
I was
though.
going to say, I hope, yeah.
So he's still my wide receiver 8. I like him a lot this year. I think the touchdown should, at minimum, that should go bump up this year. But I think with Meredith, Ginn, Watson, Kamara, there's going to just be enough other mouths to
Traquan
feed.
Smith, who will beat out Ted again.
We'll see.
We'll see. Sean Payton has a way of making us not like things he does.
That's true.
He's very good at that as a Vikings fan.
At least he got a little
But
bit
yeah,
of
so
payback
Thomas,
last year.
he's a guy I like, but I liked him less when I did projections than I did in my initial gut reaction.
Yeah, I was right there with you.
All right, moving on to Doug Baldwin coming in at number 9, a little higher than I thought he was going to be when I projected him as well.
Yeah, he was higher than I thought he was going to be also. He actually projected out, I think, at 4 or 5 for me statistically. But then that's something that would have faded off a bit if I had remembered to fade people just based on kind of how sure I am of things. But I think he's a lock for a ton of targets. You got Jimmy Graham that vacated 96 of them, and they didn't really do anything to replace Jimmy Graham in that offense. They brought in Brandon Marshall, who we'll talk about on Wednesday's episode, I think.
No,
he doesn't make the cut.
He doesn't make the cut?
Thank God.
Okay. I'll talk about him now then. They brought in Brandon Marshall, who I think takes some of that role, especially down in the red zone as a big-bodied guy. I think that you got Nick Vanette also, who I'm not backing off of my love for him, but
We will get to him on next Monday's episode.
the other part of Doug Baldwin isn't just vacated targets, it's the defense is just depleted. They've had to try to retool that thing on the fly, and it's not going to be shut down like it's been in years past. It's not going to be as good as it's been in years past. And they're going to have to throw more, and Wilson's going to have to throw more, and Doug Baldwin is going to directly benefit from that because he's the best option that they have. And you may hear the narrative about, a Schottenheimer offense doesn't love wide receivers, but you look at who his number 1 wide receivers have been: Chris Givens, Jericho Cotchery, Jeremy Curley, Braylon Edwards, and the aging Santonio Holmes.
Yeah.
It's the best thing he's had.
Stout.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't care what offense Schottenheimer calls. Russell Wilson will still manage to throw it 130 times to Baldwin, even if they don't call a single passing play.
Yep.
He'll have a chance to lead the lead. There's 175 vacated targets between Graham and Richardson. Baldwin is still the best option there. Lack of a running game. I mean, that may be a little high on Penny, but a terrible offensive line may make those numbers less efficient, so more throwing. As you mentioned, Hopper, worse defense, a lot more points to be scored there. The West may be a little overrated as a division, but I think all the offenses there are going to be, good enough to produce points. And just a lack of trust in the red zone. I mean, Penny may be able to get those touchdowns without a true red zone threat, but Baldwin's going to see a shit ton of targets in this offense.
I had him at 139 targets, 97 receptions, right around 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns.
He's one of the better slot receivers in this league.
I had slightly lower volume than you, but I was right with you there on the 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The touchdowns will be there for him this year.
Absolutely.
All right. And coming in at number 10, last guy in Tier 4, is Mike Evans.
Mike Evans is a guy that a lot of people have soured on. And when you look at what Mike Evans has done historically, he's on the every other year plan, which is apparently a Tampa Bay thing because Doug Baldwin was doing that for a while also.
Work done for a long time.
Doug Martin?
Doug Martin. Yeah, wrong Doug.
And wasn't Martin on the every third year plan?
Well,
I don't know what plan he was on. He doesn't know what plan he was on.
Now he's on the retirement plan. Well, that's, a stop in Oakland first, but you get
sure.
it.
So Oakland, New York / New Jersey, and then he'll retire.
Yep. Evans did have a down year last year, his career low in yards, fewest targets since his rookie season. But like I said, as far as, touchdown production, he's definitely on the every other year plan. He's gone 12-3, 12-5. So naturally he's going to get 12 this year. No statistical analysis behind that.
None.
His catch rate it's happening every other year, so he's got to get 12. Catch rate also on an every other year plan. 55.7, 50, 55.5, 52.2. So probably a lock for right around 55% reception rate. He is almost a lock to miss a game, but really, Tampa Bay is going to have to throw. Once Jameis is back from his suspension, I think Mike Evans is an easy wide receiver 1. And I'm not sure what his ADP is, but I'm pretty sure it's lower than it should be.
It's probably mid to back end second.
Might be high third by this point.
I will find out while you guys keep talking.
Everyone's a little afraid with Winston missing those 3 games. I'm pretty sure with Fitzpatrick last year that he was better.
Ryan Griffin, though.
Yeah. I did paint that narrative for an episode.
The old tight end.
Yeah. But, he's a target monster. I do believe in Chris Godwin, so he could take away some of that production. You also bring in Justin Watson, Deshaun Jackson, and Humphreys is still there. If you believe in Rojo as a passing option, you could take some of those targets away too.
I believe in Rojo and Chris Godwin. I think Deshaun Jackson is headed to the morgue.
I hope so.
Yeah, if he gets cut,
Give
that'll
me
help
Chris
clarify this
Godwin,
stuff a
number
lot.
2. Number 2. It's all I
If he
want.
gets cut, it's not going to shift things because I'm already projecting him as almost nothing.
Now, it'll clarify things a lot, though, at the bare minimum. Evans is currently going at 211, ninth wide receiver off the board.
Yeah.
Love it. That's fine with me.
Yep.
I'll take that shit all
He
day.
is going 3 picks ahead of Doug Baldwin, though.
Yeah. Well,
I like them both the same.
I would probably take Baldwin more because he's safer, but it would be a coin flip almost.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we want to add on Mike Evans here?
No.
All right. Then we'll go to our guy who's standing all alone by himself in Tier 5 before we get to a beer review, T.Y. Hilton. And I'm assuming we all just projected Luck to be back, and that's why he's here.
Yep, that's exactly why he's there. I projected Luck to be back. With Luck back, T.Y. Hilton is a wide receiver 1. There's going to be people that still don't perceive him that way. He's going to be very good value.
What is his ADP right now, Nick? With
So
all that
it has
positive Luck
it
news.
started bumping up here. He's going as
I-
wide receiver 13,
I would hope
306.
I still like
that's
that.
great value.
The two names that are going in front of him that are a bit of a surprise is wide receiver 11 going at 304 is Adam Thielen, and wide receiver
Yeah,
12
I'm
at
okay with
305
that.
is Josh Gordon.
I'm not okay with
He's
that.
still 305.
He is still
How the
305.
fuck is Josh Gordon still wide receiver 1?
Do not take Josh Gordon over T.Y. Hilton.
Please.
Do not.
Under
Do
no,
not take
under
him
no
over Jarvis
circumstances.
Landry. Don't take Josh Gordon over Jarvis Landry.
No.
When we get to the next episode, we'll tell you how low we have Gordon. It is not.
It's not
close.
pretty.
It's not pretty.
Not even close to ADP.
But to back to T.Y. Hilton, he is a potential top 5 receiver with Andrew Luck. I think he was top 5 with him his last healthy season.
In 16, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's got the upside to be one of the best receivers in the league. Great from the slot. Great, as a deep threat, and he has the trust of Luck to get a shit ton of targets.
You know what's funny about that ADP you read off? He's statted as my wide receiver 13 right
Is he?
behind Adam Thielen. So-
There you go. I've got him as the number 2 receiver in yards for this year. It's touchdowns that'll hold him back because he only averages like 5 to 7.
yeah.
Yeah, he's not a red zone guy. But,
He's a
without,
big yardage
without
guy,
Moncrief there, I mean, there is no real.
Red zone
I
guy.
do not say his fucking name.
No.
I do not want to hear the name that should
You
not be spoken.
you say his name 3 times and he shows up, and we just don't want that
and then
to
he drops a
happen.
football, and then he gets hurt.
And then he drops a football and pulls a hammy. So just don't do it.
I mean, it would make the episode more entertaining for the YouTube viewers.
Moving on.
If he who shall not be named waltzes in through the door.
Yes. All right. Well, if we're done talking about the Colts, it's beer review time.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm done. I'm still laughing about the he who shall not be named reference in Voldemort and stuff.
Also a Beetlejuice reference.
Beetlejuice. Yeah, all in one player, too. That was good.
That was good.
Beer review.
So, what do you guys think of Sweet Christian Moerlein?
I definitely get.
I do need more.
Yeah,
And
it's
empty.
easy drinking. As far as the flavor goes, more hoppy bitterness than Blood Orange to me. It's kind of the inverse of the Blood Belt that I have downstairs, which is also a Blood Orange IPA, which tastes like an orange sucker.
I want to
But-
try that right now.
Yeah, this one, it's still really drinkable. It's pretty good. It's not my favorite Blood Orange that I've had, but it's definitely solid.
It's crisp. It's got. There's not a like. I didn't think there was a lot of hoppiness to it, but I've also have changed my take on a lot of them before, so it's not super hop heavy in the beginning. It's got a nice, citrus start to it, and then it kind of just fades into a normal IPA for me.
I think it's citrus hopped. I get a little bit of the bitterness, but you're right. It's not kicking you in the face. It's
Yes.
definitely there, though.
Yeah, it's more of a slow hop burn. As the guys have said, though, very drinkable. I've almost finished an entire pounder here, just going through the first 11 receivers. So very good. Unfortunately, I've earmarked the other one
That's fine.
as no touchy. So
No
be for,
toques.
that'll be for can art only.
We do that sometimes.
All right. Well, Christian Moerlein, thank you very much for jumping on the show. We will tweet at you guys. Hopefully,
And-
you retweet us back.
And we'll talk about you on Wednesday's episode.
Shout out to
Is the one-
Probably.
And then what was the ones who retweeted the last 2 episodes here?
Legal Draft and
It was
Texas?
Hayes Wizard. Who was that?
3 Nations.
Yep. Thank you guys for retweeting us, guys.
That was awesome. We appreciate you. And next time we're in Texas, we might have to come visit and not just pick up your beer.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, shout out Hop Fusion in Fort Worth, Texas. By the way, we don't have any of their beer with us because it was a
That's
draft
what it was
place only.
called.
But that brewery was amazing.
The best amber ale I've ever had.
And the best cold pressed coffee I've ever had.
Yeah, they had great cold brew coffee. They had a couple really good stouts that we had, and then that red ale. Like everything was delicious there. So shout out them if you're ever in Fort Worth. Go check them out.
Yeah, Hop Fusion, just being there for one night, they immediately jumped into my top 10.
Anything? Like, do you guys know if they bottle or can?
No idea. I never saw anything.
I gotta find that out.
We should have gotten a growler.
Just one.
Should have gotten multiple growlers. Missed opportunities.
Yeah, we're not perfect. Moving on to tier 6.
Speak for yourself.
Kicking it off with number 12. This one might draw a little bit of hate. Amari Cooper.
Bring the fucking hate on then.
Unanimous number 12 for us, I believe.
No.
No?
I was...
Oh, I'm sorry. You were lower.
Yes.
Dan and I had him as 12. So what do we like about him? Why we have him so high?
I've pounded the table for the Cooper hype train to start. I don't know if it's really started. It's always been a little, kick.
A lot of starts, a lot of stops.
A lot of start and stops.
It derailed once or twice.
That's fine. I mean, I've been on the bandwagon for him before. I've mentioned on previous episodes what I think he could produce in this offense as a kind of back and wide receiver one with all the upside in the world, as Gruden loves to feed his wide receiver ones.
To me, it's just there's guys I would rather take is my back and wide receiver one than Amari Cooper, just because I still want to see him prove that he can be a reliable option, and he still has things that he needs to solve. I definitely expect the volume to go up because he was only at 6.9 targets last year versus Crabtree's 7.8. He was the number 2, and I expect him to shift to probably a little bit above 8 targets a game this year. So I definitely expect the volume to be there, but he's got to prove that the hands can be reliable. And then his quarterback's got to prove that he can actually give him catchable targets also. That was the other thing that really put me off on Cooper a bit, is his catchable target rate was only 67.7, which is not great.
That's bad.
And that's all on Derek Carr. That's not an indictment on Amari Cooper. That's an indictment on Derek Carr. But unfortunately, as a wide receiver, you kind of need your quarterback to be able to throw you footballs before you catch up.
Yes, it is a metaphor, but he's basically handcuffed to Derek Carr in terms of what he's going to produce.
Yes, his Derek Carr's like an anchor to Amari Cooper at this point for me.
So I definitely agree with that. I just think the volume's going to be there. I got him at 149 targets, so actually I'm a little over 9. And I think that's just going to be enough to keep him kind of floating upward. Plus, without Crabtree there should be some touchdowns to go around. Some of them is going to go to Nelson. I projected an additional 1 or 2 to go over to Cook, but I think the rest should probably head over to Cooper, so that should bump his touchdown rate up too.
See, Nelson's been so good in the red zone traditionally that I actually gave Nelson more touchdowns than I gave Cooper, just because the thing to remember about Jordy Nelson is that his fall off wasn't because of Jordy Nelson. His fall off is because he got stuck with Brett Hundley. I know he didn't produce with Brett Hundley, and I don't believe, but I still think Derek Carr's a better quarterback than Brett Hundley, and I've seen what Jordy Nelson does in the red zone.
I just want to see what he's like.
That's too hot of a take for this show.
That Derek Carr's better than Brett Hundley.
We can that is a line.
Endorse that.
That is a line too far.
But it's also just how John Gruden wants to use Jordy Nelson in this offense. I mean, he has to go down from a traditionally Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr, which is a pretty steep drop, and just the fact that Gruden's traditionally have used his ones or his tight ends in the red zone a lot more.
Who's he using as his one though? Because you've seen him sign a bunch of 30-plus-year-old players. I think
that's true.
I think he has an affinity for older men.
It's also been 10 years since he's coached. Who the fuck knows what he wants to do?
Now, if he can sign a wide receiver who can qualify for AARP, he's going to be in heaven.
Oh, Terrell Owens,
come on down.
He does want to play.
Terrell Owens is still trying to play.
Yep, he's going to try to get into
He'll probably
Canton
give up a 4th-round pick
contract
for him somehow. He'd be like, here, just take this pick.
Give up the pick willingly just to sign Terrell Owens.
Just give me Owens right now.
Who are you even trading the pick to?
Doesn't fucking
He's
matter.
Not signed. I don't care. Goodell can make a pick. It's fine.
Goodell gets a starter team.
Oh, no.
Goodell gets for the 4th. No. Goodell gets to make this pick.
Oh, God.
All right. Enough about Cooper. The volume should be there. It's just going to be concerned about efficiency and touchdowns. That is what the concerns Hopper brought up. Overall, though, should be a better season than the end of last year, just strictly on volume alone.
He's kind of like Evans, where he has
his
he kind of follows the same thing with Evans and touchdowns with his drops.
If I can get Cooper as my second wide receiver, I'm happy. If I get Cooper as my first wide receiver, I better have 2 stud running backs.
Well, good news for you.
He's 4th round ADP.
He's going at 404. You can possibly get him as your wide receiver 2 when you've started with 2 running backs.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
That is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you'd have the option of starting who's somebody I know you like more. We're going to talk about next. You could start Larry Fitzgerald, Amari Cooper as your first 2 receivers.
Yep, I do have. I've got Larry Fitzgerald 2 spots.
That makes me pretty moist.
Moist.
just to think about that.
Well,
Moist.
our wide receiver 13 is Larry Fitzgerald,
Targets.
and the only
Does he
person I
stay
trust.
inside? Does he stay inside?
He
though?
does stay inside.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
Kirk I think tries to play outside.
Tries.
If he does at all, I've heard a rumor that it's going to be Williams and Butler outside.
Well, that could be
Ooh,
that's
true.
also, but we'll have to back to training camp battles, right?
That's true.
We're gonna have to see how this wide receiver thing shakes out.
Yeah,
'cause
for-
Trey-
They didn't pay Bryce Butler. I did forget about that.
I love Bryce Butler. Bryce Butler's a guy I think a lot of people are sleeping on, and I think every time he got targeted with the Cowboys, he flashed.
He's a lot better than Terrence Williams. I know that.
Chad Williams was interesting last year because he's a big-bodied receiver. He didn't really see the field. I think he was hurt.
He's hurt for most.
He
of
was
the
working
season.
out with Ocho Cinco earlier in the year, though.
He's supposed to be the Fitz
Not a bad person to
replacement.
model yourself after.
Yeah.
Very true.
So everyone after Fitz for the pass catching game here in Arizona is a key watch.
It's all going to Fitz, though.
Yeah, it is all going to Fitz though.
He's too good.
Little bit.
That sounds like a bad thing.
yeah.
It's not though.
So I don't expect this offense to be great. I expect them to have quarterback issues, mostly because Bradford's going to hurt himself in week 6, which is the over/under on that. And then,
Oh, same as Sarkisian?
yes, and then
6, huh?
I like week 6 for a lot of things to happen. Week 6 is going to be crazy if my predictions
I
come
like
true.
week 4 when teams figure their shit out
Yeah,
and fucking air.
Well, it's better than the Bengals who took 2 games to fire their OC last year.
Oh god.
I also think that the defense here is taking a step backwards. So
It'll take a year or two to transition
It's
to the
gonna-
new defensive
yeah,
coordinator.
yeah.
Arizona's in a transitional thing to where it's like they don't know what they want to do. They need to just go into full rebuild. So
Well, they grabbed the quarterback even if he wasn't our favorite, so they're trying to, obviously.
they're trying, yes, which is why Fitzgerald makes even less sense. But he's going to get targets. He's going to be the only person here that really gets targets. So he's worth something. As always, he's super high value in any type of PPR format. And he'll be used in the red zone. I've got him right at over 1,000, just over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns.
I got him at a little over 1,107, so that's the slight difference there.
I'm at 1064 and 6, so just a little lower.
But yeah, he should be very productive this year. I think he's one of the safest guys. If you can grab him as your wide receiver 2, great. Or if you go running back heavy and start with him as your
He's a
1,
great
it's
one
not a
to
bad
start
start.
with.
Yep,
He is.
All right. 14, Stephon Diggs.
I'm higher on Thielen.
I noticed. We were higher on Diggs, you were higher on Thielen. So Thielen's at 16, so they're 2 spots apart from each other.
Yeah,
Let's have the argument. What are we?
Is there? I mean, I'm happy with either.
yeah.
It's not one of like I need Diggs or Thielen.
They would come
I'm
closer
both.
to each other, except Diggs' career high is 14 games played, so I projected it that way.
Yeah.
And that's why they're not back-to-back in this, is because his career high is 14 games played. Cousins is going to spread the ball out. He's going to target his 2 outside receivers, and Diggs can move outside or inside. So it'll
Ask Thielen.
yeah, they both can't. They'll move around the field. So I both expect them to be 100-plus target guys. Diggs is utilized more in the red zone, so I expect the touchdowns to be there for him. He's got great hands, great efficiency. There's nothing I don't really like about Stephon Diggs except his ability to stay healthy. So that's why I'm on the Thielen side, because his health is a little bit more reliable. Diggs always seems to be either banged up or missing time.
This is a true argument of you want upside, you want a little bit of safetyness. Thielen plays more in the slot than he does more outside, but he stays healthy. He makes all the big catches. Diggs had the highest contested catch rate last year at 83.7%.
I think Thielen was like 5th, so they're both up there.
They're both completely fine options. Like I said, it's not about I need one or the other. I'm fine with either.
I think they're
want
both locked and loaded as a floor at wide
Yeah.
receiver, too.
I love this
I'll take
offense, and I think Cousins is going to, like just you said, spread the ball around for both of them to be wide receiver 2s.
Yeah. So actually, the way I do my rankings too is I do points per game, and then I shift around tiers. So guys who are more likely to get injured drop in my tier rankings.
See, I do overall and then shift around tier, which is kind of the same thing. 'Cause if
Yeah.
you divide overall by points per game, you're probably going to be about the same. I like reliability though.
But yeah, my rankings I think pull reliability out slightly more because you can like if somebody gets hurt, you can try to do something with it. I'm generally
What are
going
their
for
ADPs right
Actually,
now?
also a really good point to keep in mind, by the way, because everybody's kind of going to value players different. So it's probably a good time to just go ahead and mention. Nick tends to like a little bit more boom busty guys than I do. Likes a little bit, I tend to be more conservative. I like guys who are a little bit safer, who have a little bit more floor, and will steer away from upside of guys that, might lose me a couple weeks. Dan kind of splits the difference.
I do. I like to be more safe in the beginning. Like, I don't want to lose my league because my first couple of rounds, my first 3 rounds are, they busted. And like I said, it's really based on where you can get these guys. I just asked Nick, what are the ADP of Thielen and Diggs?
Thielen is going, as we mentioned earlier, at 304, 11th wide receiver off the board, and Diggs is 310, 15th. So both very high.
Shot.
Yeah. Thielen at 11 is a little high for me just because of both of them there. I think that they're both high wide receiver 2s, not necessarily back end 1s.
Yeah, Thielen never saw.
I want to see him do it again too, though.
Yeah,
he's had one very good season.
At ADP, it's Diggs for me.
Yes.
Yeah. So Thielen last year saw 12 and 13 targets. The 2 games Diggs missed. He never saw over 11 in any other game. So he sees more volume when Diggs is out. If Diggs is there, it's going to drop his targets down.
Yeah. I mean, Diggs did only miss 2 games, so it shouldn't be a huge fallout. But yeah, I'm with you.
All right, 15, Demaryius Thomas.
Big upside play here.
God, he's so slept on too.
He's very slept on.
So yeah, this will be the first one where we're like, oh yeah, so this is our stamp. Actually, no, he's actually starting to climb up. He's up to 406 now, so he's actually starting to be somewhat reasonable. He was in the mid-20s for a long time in wide receiver.
I mean, we saw Case Keenum provide or support 2 wide receiver 2-3 finishes with Diggs and Thielen. You can do the same thing with Thomas and Sanders, who aren't the same receivers, but Thomas is a bigger threat. Great downfield, great in the red zone if he doesn't have his random fucking drops.
And he's fantastic after the catch.
And he is it's just these 2 guys in this offense.
Yeah,
Keenum will feed them.
Yeah, you got Deshaun Hamilton there also, but I don't believe in the tight ends. Carlos Henderson's also there, so there's going to be somebody that emerges as the third option. But I mean, really, it should be and Sutton too. You can't forget Cortland Sutton. So
year 2.
Yeah, year 2 for him.
Year 2.
But Demaryius Thomas is a guy, like you said, a lot of people are sleeping on. They just upgraded the quarterback position, and I think even Hopkins thrived with Keenum.
Yeah.
So Demaryius Thomas is a guy that I think that you should target.
I think he's going to at least see more consistency. He won't have the random Osweiler and Simeon games where he'll get 1 or 2 targets, or he'll get 8 targets and only catch 1 football because they can't fucking put the ball on target to him. Mm-hmm. Keenum is a far better quarterback than those 2.
Oh, absolutely. Even though he does have some weird throws and will require him to make some contested catches.
When you have Thomas,
but he can do it.
He'll use Thomas the same way he trusted with Thielen, though. Thomas, a big body, can box out, a lot of these smaller defensive backs, and he'll just trust them the same way that he did with Thielen last year.
Yeah, that is what I'm expecting. I haven't projected there, so I'm not arguing with you.
I don't know. I know. I'm just saying. As our fans out there, don't sleep on Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, Keenum is not an elite option, but he is a better option. Tier 7, since we already did Thielen at 16. Tier 7 kicks it off 17, Golden Tate.
Another guy that gets slept on a shit ton, too.
Yes, another guy that gets slept on way more than what he should. So Golden Tate has had 120 or more targets since he came to Detroit, 90 or more receptions since he came to Detroit. He's had 1 season under 1,000 yards in that span. His catch rate's consistently in the high 60s. With last year was a major outlier; it was down, but. And he's first in yards after the catch. I mean, he's always been a great guy, even in college.
Well,
so.
in his defense, he had a messed up shoulder that he played through, so I'll give him the break on that one.
Yeah, he's consistently consistent in the mid to high wide receiver 2 range. If you go running back heavy up front, Golden Tate's a guy that you can take and you can rely on to give you some week in and week out solid performances.
And going back into the 4th, so if you start running back, and then say grab Doug Baldwin at the start of the 3rd, and then Golden Tate at the end of the 4th.
I'm really happy with that.
Makes me moist. I mean, he was number 1 in yards after the catch at 636. He was number 1 in catch rate at 76.7. Stafford obviously will get him the football when he's open. Second in the league in catchable target catch rate at 87.5%. He just always gets it done. He had 21% target share, so he can get it done even with some of the less volume as some of these number 1 guys.
All right. FYI, Dan's looking at his phones for notes. I'm setting to fantasy baseball lineups.
Dan forgot his laptop because, work.
Get it together, Dan. Come on.
Never.
18th, Allen Robinson.
number one wide receiver in Chicago for whatever that's worth. I mean, you're the number one wide receiver anywhere. You're pretty much guaranteed volume. He's cleared. He's the clear-cut number one. I expect them to throw more than last year. This offense should be relatively dynamic. So, Allen Robinson is another guy who you're more of an upside play than what I think Tate is. He kind of fits more Demaryius Thomas as far as the upside goes. Not really ever been a high efficiency guy, but Trubisky's a more accurate quarterback, I think, inherently than Blake Bortles is. So,
yeah, you got to trust him to take the next step, though, in the offense as a whole to take the next step. So this is definitely...
It's risky.
It's kind of there's some risk associated with it. You're betting on this offense taking a step forward and not being a bottom of the barrel offense again this year.
He was a back-to-back 150 target guy in 15 and 16.
And one was good, one was awful.
Exactly.
Yep. So the volume will not necessarily guarantee him production. He needs some help from the offense as a whole to kind of lift him up.
You got to just see how the Bears offense looks those first 4 weeks, and then you can judge accordingly from there.
But yeah, I do like him. I'm a little lower than you two. You got him at 16, and Dan and Hopper's got him at 15. I got him at 21 just because of I dropped him a little bit down the tier.
I got a little more faith in this Bears offense to produce, and plus this division, when you have to play against the Vikings, the Packers, and the Lions, you're going to have to keep up with them. I love their defense, but
he's also going to get Rhodes and Slay for 4 games.
Yeah.
Well, you assume he's going to
Slay
get Slay
gets
for
hurt,
4 games. Slay's probably going to miss 2 of those.
Rhodes gets banged up. As much as I love
I don't think they're playing
Rhodes,
the Lions 4 times either.
Well, okay. Then he's going to miss 1. Slay's probably going to miss 1 or if not both of those.
But yeah, so I like Robinson a lot. He is currently coming off the board as wide receiver 20. So even at my ranking, he's pretty close.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
You guys will be all over him.
Yep.
I normally am.
And the last one in this tier is Tyreek Hill at 19.
So I have more faith in Tyreek Hill than I think both of you guys do.
By quite a bit, yes.
Yes. He showed last year to me that he's more than just a speedster. He's got insanely good hands, over 70% catch rate the last 2 seasons. 15.8 yards per reception, I think stays at least level, and he separates a ton. The catchable target rate may go down with Mahomes. I don't expect it a whole lot though, because even though Mahomes is big armed, he's really accurate. They did bring in Sammy Watkins, but Sammy Watkins, 1, has to be healthy, which he was last year, and 2, has to produce, and it's been 3+ seasons since Sammy Watkins has produced anything. So I think I just faded Watkins more based on that than I did Tyreek Hill, who's, showed that he could be a big play threat in year 1 and then showed that he can be a reliable threat in year 2.
A lot of it is
a real dangerous combination to me.
Just like Trubisky, it's what are we going to get from Mahomes now? It's all on him. I don't like the Chiefs' defense. I expect a lot of throwing here. I like Watkins as a better fit for Mahomes just because he likes to force things. He's a gunslinger, likes to, charge the ball downfield. But that's also Hill's game. I think people forget that's what Hill's game is.
Hill goes
too.
downhill and separates.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to win contested.
He was 8th in the league, I think, at 208 in yards separated. He was 2.29 yards or 2.9 points per target, which was second best in the league. He's massively efficient when he gets those targets. And when you get a guy like Mahomes who wants to extend the play more, that fits Hill's game.
And Mahomes will make dangerous throws, but more out of necessity than out of just to make the dangerous throw. If you've got 2 guys running down the field and Watkins is covered and he has to throw a jump ball and Hill's open.
All right, we're getting a little too narratively here. There's no.
I like narratives.
Yeah,
it's my favorite type of essay.
It's season 2. Here we go.
Actually, persuasive is my favorite. I just lied to y'all.
So
I'm sorry.
I'm actually a little lower on both Hill and Watkins than you two, and that's just kind of the inherent risk of the offense. And also, I do expect Kelsey to be still a major chunk of this receiving game.
I think you being lower on Watkins than either of us is newsworthy.
That is true.
I'm 4 spots lower than Dan, 5 spots lower than you.
I keep moving up Watkins. I just love him with his fit. That's why.
I don't, but I projected Mahomes to have an insane rookie year. I was probably a little bullish on that.
Rookie?
So
it's rookie season still.
Rookie starter season.
Rookie.
Yeah.
But
just like basketball.
I mean, I project him to have a pretty good season as well. He's my quarterback 15, but just kind of looking at all the weapons he has to support, I saw volume down for Hill a little bit. I dropped him down about 15 targets off of last year. Watkins, we'll talk about him in the next episode where we can deep dive him a little bit more. But Hill, it was mainly lack of volume and some questions about the efficiency dropping a little bit with going
I've
from
kept
Alex
moving
Smith to
downhill
Mahomes.
too, though.
So he's
higher for me.
my 23. I still like him just compared to where he's going, which is wide receiver 14.
What's his ADP?
Not interested.
So
Man, I'm glad I'm in a lot of
306.
leagues with you two then.
You're gonna be the only one of the three of us who owns Hill.
Probably.
308 he's going.
308. It's a big change from last year for us.
If I even own him, because I don't even think I'm taking him
we
third
were pretty
round.
low on Hill last year.
You got him as your 13, man.
Oh, okay, maybe. Well,
Now you got to remember he didn't.
you got to remember,
Adjust his
I didn't
tiers.
fade as many people as I should have.
All right, so is 13 higher than you actually like him?
I would probably take him probably around 17 or 18,
So where I am.
just
Okay.
off the top of my head.
Well, let's talk about number 20 then, because he's your 17, so we can do this conversation. Coming in tier 8, number 20 is Marvin Jones.
This I'm okay with. However, the thing you got to keep in mind with Marvin Jones is it's probably going to be a little boom busty. It's consistently been between 103 and 107 targets, even when he came to Detroit. But he's due to regress. Yards per reception has been higher since coming to Detroit, but 18 is insane. Even speedster guys don't necessarily touch that. 15 end zone targets, though, so I expect his touchdown rate stays pretty high. Still expect he's going to break some big plays. Still expect he's going to be targeted downfield. Not going to be the season he had last year. Still expect it to be good, though.
Speaking of season last year, first in air yards 115. He had 18 yards per reception, which was the best in the league as well.
Yeah.
Fifth in yards per target at 10.3. Fourth in production premium at 29.9. That probably will go down slightly with the rise of Kenny Galladay. Is going to take a lot of that role as well, especially when Galladay was healthy in that first week. When Galladay got a lot of that downfield work, I still like Jones, but just like you said, Hopper, he's going to be a little boom busty, and he may not get the same amount of targets with a healthy Galladay.
I like Galladay, but I think Galladay's breakout probably happens year 3 just because he was hurt a bit last year. I think that you see flashes this year. I think, don't get me wrong, I projected Galladay to be kind of a wide receiver 5-ish dart throw, 4-ish dart throw,
Yeah.
maybe even.
Yeah, you had him as your last 4.
Well, especially with the loss of Ebron, and that's what really does it for me.
You mean the name that can't be spoken?
Well, he's going to be spoken in Detroit since he's not there
That's
anymore.
fine.
But who'd they bring in? Luke Wilson, Michael Roberts, more of a blocking tight end. I think that Michael Roberts probably sees about 50 targets, but I still think that that's probably where a lot of Galladay's work comes from instead of really, taking over.
Yeah,
Marvin
I
Jones.
agree. There's, between Fells and Ebron leaving, there's about 110, 115 targets gone. Some of that's going to go to Galladay. I actually projected even a little bit of it to go to Jones.
I did too.
I had him about 115 targets this year instead of 105.
What did I have him at? Hold on.
All right. So we've talked about the Galladay in the room. Any other concerns here and them with switching to more of a defensive-minded coach?
No, because it's still Stafford and it's still Jim Cooter calling the plays.
That's how I felt as well. Just wanted to make sure there was no concerns
I
with
would
that.
hope so.
Yeah, Jim Bob's
And
still
plus,
there.
we like to say the name Jim Bob Cooter.
All right.
Cool, good name.
21, Alshon Jeffrey.
Gross.
I actually am pretty high on him this year.
I'm not.
All right, let's hear the negative side because I've got some positive.
You guys
side.
can duke it out because I'm probably in the middle.
You are in the middle.
His catch rate was the lowest of his career. It's closer to normal over the back half of the season, so I'll give it that. He's only ever played 2 full seasons, so you got to deal with the injury risk. Contested catch rate was in the tank, and that's kind of what made him special that year that he really flashed with the Bears, was that contested catch rate being up there. He was terrible at separation most of the season. So I expect some regression to the norm as far as contested catch rate goes, as far as separation goes, that type of stuff. He was playing hurt. He had the torn rotator cuff going on. 12th in red zone target share, though. Nelson Aguilar had a better red zone target share than Alshon Jeffrey did. So, to me,
That did seem to be trending towards Jeffrey as the season went on, though.
well, Nick Foles is when Jeffrey really started to trend.
It took off
Jeffrey,
about week-
so
It was about week 10 or
Week
11.
8 or 9. 10.
big picture. Even if it did start to trend, it's not like Nelson Aguilar went away. I'm not saying Aguilar is going to outperform Jeffrey. That would be asinine. But I'm saying that I have to fade Jeffrey a little bit because I don't expect Aguilar to be nothing. You still got Darren Sproles coming back, which is going to demand a little bit of more target volume to running backs than what you had last year, you would think. You got Zach Ertz there still. So you're going to have to spread the ball out. You're going to have to find carries for Clement. You're going to have to find carries for Ajayi and receiving work for Ajayi. Ton of mouths to feed here also. 21, I said, ew. It's not. That was a little bit dramatic on my part. But yeah, I'm still not necessarily a giant believer in Alshon Jeffrey this upcoming season. I think it'll be better.
So for you, that's about a round early.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you got him. I see you got him at 26, and 26 puts him. He's going at the back of the fourth, and 26 would put him at the back of the fifth.
Yep. About a round early for me. And again, that has as much to do with my belief in Nelson Aguilar and the strides he took last year as
Yes.
not liking Alshon Jeffrey.
And you'll see that when we talk about Nelson Aguilar, because we have the exact opposite script when we get to that player.
We sure do.
Makes sense.
But yeah, so for me, you mentioned the catch rate. I mean, if that regresses even a bit, that should help bring his floor significantly up, even if the touchdown rate regresses a little bit. And I saw enough last year in the Eagles offense that I saw him getting better as the season went on. So that was a positive thing for me.
And for me, it's just when you look at their games from the first 8 weeks and then the first 9 weeks, it's really when they traded for Ajayi, where you got to see Wentz and Jeffrey finally kind of start to mesh together. Jeffrey is not going to give you consistent weeks, safe weeks. He's going to have dud weeks. He's not going to be the guy. Just as Hopper said, there's a lot of mouths to feed. We also talk about Mike Wallace, who's a better outside option than Torrey Smith, who could command targets there. Jeffrey's not a model of health. He's been banged up. It's been hamstrings. It's been foot injuries. You got the shoulder injury.
It's almost always been
there's
soft
always
tissue also.
something. Yeah, there's always something with Jeffrey. But I like the fact that he was able to get production not just from Wentz but from Nick Foles. If Wentz isn't ready by week 1 or if something, if there's some bit of delay, Foles and Jeffrey built that connection well late season, going into the playoffs and especially into the playoffs.
Oh, Foles and Jeffrey though, you just said it, and you look at he did start to see his target volume. His target volume really didn't even increase
But his catch rate did.
It's catchable target rate. It's the big thing. I think for the first 8 weeks, we even talked about it like in season, it was abysmal. Wentz and him were not on the same page. It was all Wentz and Aguilar.
Yeah, by about 2 receptions a game, it bettered starting in, it looks like week 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the second half of the season.
That was at a Ajayi trade. It was the game against the Broncos, I think, is when it really took off.
He had a really crazy play against the Broncos. We're like, hey, where have
happy.
you been?
He's been on my fucking bench because he sucked.
All right. Any other thing we want to talk about this tier before we move on to our second one-man tier? Or third one-man tier,
Third one-man. Yep. No, we're good.
All right. The Antonio Brown's in one-man tier, and so is Juju Smith-Schuster in tier 9, number 22 on our boards.
Hashtag find his bike.
Yeah. Juju, I think, could go... How did I not? Somebody else talk. I forget how I...
All right. Well, I
didn't pull my notes out for Juju.
I was expecting actually a worse projection out of Juju because he's one of the lowest target amounts of any guy who's in this kind of same tier. But man, his efficiency numbers were great. I don't see any reason why that should change this year, especially with adding James Washington. Bell's still there. Everything should be in shape for him to have another fantastic year. It might be a little bit busty. We saw that a little bit last year, but it should still put us some great numbers. He's good enough to at least straight win you up weeks as your wide receiver.
He had to fight off Bryant. I don't expect him to fight off Washington too much.
No.
He had an incredible 45.2 or plus 45.2 production premium. A lot of that was because of those big plays. He had the best QB rating, or he had the best given QB rating when being targeted at 130.6, which is insane. And he also showed that even if Brown does miss time, or if he, if he needs to be the guy, he can be. I think he posted two wide receiver 1 finishes.
Well, in the inverse around that
Didn't
too
the
is you
season.
got a lot of people that are saying, well, it was when Brown was out. It wasn't when Brown was out.
both.
He was a wide receiver 18 weeks 2 through 10 when Brown was there. And as the season went on, his target volume increased. He saw 7+ targets a game the second half of last year. That was before Brown's injury. So
Yeah, that narrative's gotten a little tired for me.
That
It is.
narrative is baseless. It's not based on anything.
Yeah, we just watched a player break out over the season.
And he was 20. Let's
Yeah.
not talk about the fact that he was the youngest player in the league, I think, last year.
He was.
Right.
And he blew up at 20 years old and one of the hardest positions to transition from college to the pros.
Yeah, probably.
He was able to do it.
Yeah,
Yes,
probably
he's a
third
slot
hardest.
player, but he's one of those new age slot receivers where he's a bigger guy.
And he can do it in the red zone. And
Yeah.
he can break away. He proved that last year too.
And
Yep,
he gets to
he-
learn how to be a route runner from Antonio Brown, the best we've ever seen.
Yeah, he's physical. He can win positioning battles against defenders. He's fast. He can make breakaway plays. He's everything you want. He's a fantastic young
The only
If-
thing blocking him is Brown.
If I
in terms
start
of targets.
if I start wide receiver heavy or running back heavy and he's my 2, or if I start wide receiver heavy and he's my 3, I'll take it all day.
I would love Juju as my 2 regardless.
The only downside, he is going ahead of players we like better. He is going in front of Robinson, Jeffrey, Tate, Jones.
Yeah.
So I would take all those guys.
He's
over
gotten,
him.
it's been a lot of that upside. It's coming from how he, finished last year. Just the fact that he's a likable guy in general, people want to own him on the team.
I've seen people trying to bring his ADP down, and it's close to where it should be. It's maybe a little too high.
What is his ADP right now?
407.
It's about right.
Maybe half a round, but
I mean, like much. A lot of it is just like
should be top into the fifth, I would think.
Like, how do you feel about owning a number 2 on a team? And do you want to take that risk and not be
in the Diggs and Thielen are going early?
Yeah, in the fifth.
It's a different story between those two.
In the fifth round, when you give me high volume guys that get targets as the number 2s, I'm fine with that. Yes. And Juju's going to get targets, and it's the same thing with Diggs and Thielen. It's the same thing as Marvin Jones, who's the number 2 in that offense. It's probably going to be the same thing with Emmanuel Sanders, even though don't take Emmanuel Sanders in the 5th round because you can get him a whole hell of a lot later.
Yeah.
But we will talk about him on our next episode. Anything else you want to kick on the first 22 here before we wrap this up?
No.
I'm good.
All right. Well, part 2, we will go over, I believe it's wide receivers 23 through 46, just kind of going through and making sure we get through most of the wide receiver 4s for you guys. These are not our complete rankings. I'm working on compiling those finalized rankings here, and we'll get those posted sometime early around the time that we drop our tight end rankings episode a week from now. So keep an eye out for that on Twitter. So make sure you follow us there at BeerfieldFF. Do you want to do one last shout out for the Listener League?
Yep, for the Listener League. I didn't mention prizes early on, but there's a signed Tyreek Hill jersey up for the winner, plus some charitable donations, some BFF merch. You can find all the details of that on Twitter if you go scroll through and find the last tweet. But yeah, you can qualify for that. You can DM me a screenshot of an iTunes comment, screenshot of a YouTube subscription, screenshot of a donation to Fantasy Cares at fantasycares.net. You can send those all to @HotBFF with 2 Ps.
All right. Dan Thury across the table from me.
At Thury BFF. I mean, if you want to direct those messages to me, I'll just send them to Hopper in general.
Yes. Don't do @BeerfieldFF though. That'll just annoy me. You can reach
which we are completely on board with though.
And you can find me individually at Nick Sparts. Remember to look for the beer review on Untapped. Hopper will post that shortly here. I think it actually comes before the episode, doesn't it?
Yeah, those normally come as I'm uploading the episodes. They show up. So
you get a beer preview to our beer preview.
Yes, you get a beer preview
inception
to our beer preview. They usually upload the episodes on Sunday at some point, so that's when the beer previews usually show up on Untapped.
All right, so keep an eye out for that. Instagram is also BeerfieldFF as well. Keep eye out there for the can art. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Let's keep getting you ready for fantasy football season, and we'll catch you guys next time with part 2 of wide receivers at Beerfield Fantasy Football.
See ya.